Hello everyone, my name is Daniel and I'm very excited to announce that this will be the first of a series of short podcasts by Greenhouse Sensation that will focus on some exciting updates from our greenhouse. We will take a deep dive into some of the amazing growing techniques we undertake and some unique variety of plants that we grow, such as tomatoes, chilies, sweet peppers, as well as the odd tropical like bananas and ginger. To be sure you don't miss out, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and like and share this video so that your fellow growers can also tune in. With that said, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to episode 1 of the Greenhouse Sensation podcast. So today I'm joined by our head grower at Greenhouse Sensation, Paul Lloyd. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be discussing some short key tips and tricks to potting on and potting out, and hopefully give our listeners some valuable advice that they can use themselves to improve their growing skills. So Paul, depending on how you've sowed your seeds in your greenhouse, you'll need to take different approaches to transplanting them into bigger containers to continue their growth and establish their roots further after germinating. Can you just explain to me what approach you've taken so far this season in terms of pricking out and potting on your plants?
Yes, with respect to tomato peppers, I always sow those direct into a seed tray in the traditional way, and when they germinate and they're just showing their first true leaves, they're a handleable size. I transplant them into 9 or 10 centimetre pots. This allows you to get them in a bit deeper, so if you make a hole in the centre of your small pot of compost, you can then lower your seedling into it a bit deeper, so then it's not going to fall over or snap when you water it. With respect to things like cucumbers, I generally sow them in jiffies or direct into small root cubes.
Yeah, I know the ones, the rock wool cubes, that we sell. Right, another question for you. Before transplanting your plant into a pot or the ground, you should look out for healthy white roots that look vibrant. Can you explain to our listeners why our plants should have this healthy root mass and what people should be looking out for?
Yes, every time you transplant a young plant, if it's not got a healthy root zone, it's unlikely to survive the check to growth that it can suffer when you transplant it, because it can give them a little bit of shock. So if you've got a good healthy root zone, it will establish much more quickly once it is transplanted, and that goes for seedlings into small pots or even larger plants that have been grown on in pots being transplanted into either a vivi-grow or a quad-grow or even out into the ground.
So which systems in our greenhouse are best for generating this root mass?
Generally, to start seedlings and cuttings off, you'd use a propagator. So the Vitapod propagator has accurate heat control and is great for germinating seeds in pots or seed trays. But if it's cuttings that you're wanting to start off, the Hydropod is excellent, where you can root your cuttings very quickly and efficiently without any growing medium at all. It's an aeroponic style propagator. But you start with a propagator, but then later on, planting out into your final planting location, such as a quad grow or a vivi grow, or even an oxypot if you want to remove growing medium completely.
Sure.
All of these systems will provide the root zone with everything they need, again, which is air, water and nutrient abundantly available.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Yeah, we've seen a few of our customers generate some incredible root mass in their oxypots and vivi grows this season, so we encourage all listeners to definitely try out our hydroponic systems. So, when we talk about root mass, a product that jumps to a lot of growers' minds are our brilliant air pruning pots. These are especially useful for growing longer term plants such as citrus trees, roses and giant veg. Could you possibly tell us a little bit more about these air wrap pots and how they actually work?
Yes, it's a lot more simple than you can imagine really. There's a cone-shaped design around the outside of the pot, each small cone is cut open at the end. So as the root tips grow into the cone, they all reach the air at the end, and when they hit the air and the light, the root tip stops growing, but that prompts the secondary roots behind the root tip to grow explosively, and they're all prompted to grow. so it stops root circling, which can lead to root-bound plants, and it gives an increased root mass around the outside of the pot.
It's fascinating stuff. What have you been growing in your air wrap pots this year, Paul?
So far I've got a caviar lime, which we planted last year in a 25 litre air wrap. This year it's been transplanted into the 50 litre, and it's romping away.
I can imagine. Well, it's all very fascinating stuff, but thank you for your time again on this podcast, Paul. We much appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to our first episode of the Greenhouse Sensation podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment below. And if you'd like us to answer any questions you may have in a future episode, please also let us know in the comments. See you next time.